All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to talk about something that sounds like it's straight out of the future, but it's happening right now. We're looking at what happens when you combine the oldest, most reliable forms of wealth like gold with the absolute cutting edge of digital tech. We're really talking about the future of money itself. So just think about this for a second. Imagine you could take the real value of a physical asset, let's say a gold bar that's sitting safe and sound in a vault somewhere, and use it to buy your morning coffee, or pay a bill, or make an investment. And here's the kicker. You could do all of that without ever actually selling or giving up ownership of that gold. I mean, it sounds a little bit like magic, right? Well, believe it or not, there's a name for this magic. It's called financial teleportation. And yeah, it sounds like science fiction, but it's actually a very real solution to one of the oldest problems in finance. How do you make solid, real-world assets actually useful in our super fast-paced digital world? Okay, so here's the core problem we're trying to solve. For thousands of years, assets like gold and silver have been incredible stores of value. No one's debating that. But let's be honest, they are completely illiquid. You can't exactly shave off a tiny piece of a silver coin to pay for your groceries online. Your wealth is essentially trapped, which makes it almost useless in the day-to-day digital economy. So, how do we get that wealth unstuck? Well, this is where the first piece of the puzzle comes into play: real-world asset tokenization. The basic idea is pretty simple. You create a digital representative, a token, that lives on a blockchain and is directly tied to your physical wealth. All of a sudden, that trapped value isn't trapped anymore. It can move at the speed of the internet. Now, this is a really, really important distinction to understand. The system we're talking about doesn't literally try to tokenize the physical thing itself. You're not putting a barrel of oil onto the blockchain. That's not how it works. Instead, what you're tokenizing is a legally enforceable claim on that asset. It's the right to the asset, and that right is backed up by rock-solid real-world proofs like vault receipts, bills of lading, and heavy-duty insurance policies. And this isn't just some theory. The whole system is being built to work with the cornerstones of what we call sound money and energy. We're talking about gold, silver, and even oil. These are tangible, physical assets that ground this futuristic technology in real, measurable, physical value. But look, just creating a digital token, that's not enough. In fact, that's just the starting line. The real power, the true innovation here, comes from the specific rulebook, or what's called a token standard, that dictates exactly how that token can behave. This is where the smart part of smart money really comes in. So let's quickly break down 3 of these key rulebooks. First, you've got ERC-20. You can think of this like digital cash. Every single token is identical and interchangeable. Then you have ERC-721, or soul-bound tokens. These are more like unique ID badges. Each one is totally one of a kind. But the real game changer, especially for regulated assets, is ERC-3643. The best analogy for this one? A high-security pass. It's permissioned, it's gated by identity, and it's built from the ground up for compliance. And this brings us to this really interesting persona, the ERC 3643 kid. Now, unlike the typical hero who breaks all the rules, this character gets their immense power because they follow the rules perfectly. Those built-in identity checks and transfer restrictions, they aren't limitations. They're actually the source of its strength and why it can be trusted in the highly regulated world of finance. Okay, so when you take that tokenized legal claim on a real asset and you combine it with a super strict compliance-first rulebook like ERC 3643, well, that's when some truly incredible things start to happen. This is the payoff. This is where we get the superpowers of this new financial infrastructure. So how does that financial teleportation actually work in the real world? Let's walk through it. It happens in 3 steps, almost instantly. First, you just swipe your card like you always do. Behind the scenes, in a flash, an instant loan pays the merchant in regular currency, like dollars. And then, in that exact same single transaction, that loan is automatically repaid using the value of your tokenized gold. The whole cycle of borrowing and repaying is over in a blink. Now for the second superpower. It's got a fancy name: ex ante enforcement. But the concept is actually pretty simple. Traditional law is reactive. It punishes people after they break a contract. This system is proactive. It uses code to build contracts that are designed from the get-go to make it physically impossible to break them. It stops the problem before it can even happen. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. The old way is basically, sue me if I fail. It's reactive, it's slow, it's expensive, and it relies on courts. The new way is code prevents failure. It's proactive, and it relies on pure logic. The contract just won't go through if the rules aren't met. It's a huge shift from trust me to trust the math. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds like code running wild, but that's not the case. There is a critical human checkpoint that anchors the entire process, a civil law notary. And this isn't just someone who stamps a document. This is a highly trained legal expert who actually designs the agreement and, this part is key, is personally liable. Their job is to make sure that the human intent of the deal is perfectly captured and executed by the automated code. So when you zoom out and you put all of these pieces together, the tokenized assets, the smart rulebooks, the self-enforcing contracts, you start to realize this isn't just another app or a new financial product. We're talking about an entirely new type of infrastructure for finance and law, one that's built on a foundation of programmable trust. And this quote from the source material absolutely nails it. It is so important to separate this from the highly speculative world of DeFi. This is about taking the old established world of commodity finance, dealing with real, tangible stuff, and giving it a massive upgrade with the power of programmable, automated, and basically unstoppable legal enforcement. So let's be crystal clear about what this infrastructure actually is. Think of it as a neutral system of record. It's the authority layer that connects a person's intent to their action to the final proof. It's an execution and evidence layer. What's just as important is what it's not. It is not a bank. It is not an exchange. It is not a marketplace. It doesn't hold your money. It just provides the trust and the proof that lets money and assets move safely and efficiently everywhere else. And all of this leaves us with one final massive question to chew on. If a contract can actually enforce itself, and if trust is no longer just a promise between people, but it's an inherent feature of the software we all use, what does that really mean for the future? How does that change absolutely everything we think we know about law, about commerce, and about finance? It's a pretty radical shift, and we are really just at the very beginning of seeing its potential unfold.